know your neighborhood. Like spend the hours to know your neighborhood. I know it's exciting to like write offers and get that offer under contract. But you also want to know when there's a good deal. So it's going to happen. When you write your offer, there's going to be that next house. You're like, ah.
Hey, this is Niti, and what you're about to hear today is a very special episode with one of the members from our portfolio program.
We call these Sensei Sessions. These interviews are designed to give you perspective about what you can achieve with the right strategies and execution.
I hope you enjoy this episode, and for free resources, check out our show notes section to see how you can build and scale your portfolio.
Our Sensei Session today is with Natasha De Leon. Natasha has been a part of our group for a long time and has given so much value. And today she's going to do it all in one place during our Sensei Session. Natasha, thanks so much for joining us today.
Of course. I'm excited to be here and talk about my experiences thus far.
Yeah, it's good stuff. It really is. It's good stuff. Okay, so I want to get started with you just by giving us an overview. Where you live, where you're investing, and what you do for a day job. So let's start with a day job. Like, what's your business outside of real estate first?
Now, I would say I'm a stay-at-home mom now. So I was in tech for about 13 years. And then on year 12, I decided let's try. I was with a really large enterprise company here in Washington State. My husband and I live in the greater Seattle area. And so I was with a large tech company here in Seattle at 12-year mark. I was like, okay, so now what? Don't want to go to a small company. Don't want to go to another company. So I went to a smaller tech company, loved what I was doing. And then fast forward a little less than a year later, laid off. So then now what? Right? So that was a whole another thing in itself. And my husband was like, just take a pause. Take a breather. You've gone through quite a bit this last year. Let's reevaluate, spend time with the kids, go do kid events, school stuff, get that in a nice little rhythm, and then we'll go from there. So fast forward about 6 months later, now what? What do I want to do? Do I want to jump back into corporate? Do I want to go to a large enterprise company? I want to go to a different industry. And then I'm an avid Bigger Pockets listener. And then I heard Palak and Niti's pod or show, and I'm like, okay, I got to learn more. So then after that show, I Googled, and then I saw that they had a program, and here we are.
Oh, and so when did you sign up?
So we joined, my husband and I joined in July. My husband has W-2, so I'm primarily driving our real estate investing.
Yeah. So July of this year, July of 2023. Right. Okay. I want to go back a little bit. So first of all, like, I just want to, I feel you, like when you're saying like you spent so much time and energy and love in an industry, and then it just stops. I think a lot of people are feeling that in whatever industry they're in. I mean, I know a lot of people have just been laid off after being with companies for such a long time. And that's part of your identity. And then it's just not there anymore. And so I feel that. And I know how hard it was. And then you kind of figure, you figure what's next? Like what is the purpose? And so what was it about real estate that interested you? Like when you heard because there's a lot of things that you're listening to. What was it about the real estate part of it that you're like, and Palak's and Niti's program in particular?
So their background is very similar to my husband and myself, right? W-2, 2 kids, corporate ladder, checking off those milestones. I mean, doing everything very textbook. I'm like, yes, I accomplished. I feel great. And then when the rug was literally pulled out from underneath me, I felt like my identity was lost. Like, now what? What do I do? Right? So my mindset was like, survive, right? Like my kids think I work and now mom doesn't work, right? And my friends are climbing the corporate ladder. Now I don't work, right? So I had to this mind shift of my self-worth or value had to be reiterated or reminded of like who I am. And so Palak's thing about mindset was like a huge thing for me and my accountability group. The ladies know like every day I had to get into a structure. So every day, wake up, I go to the gym. I have to like listen to like motivational university kind of things, like motivation through the whole time that I'm there. The only thing that goes in my mind are things of where I want to go, what I want to do, listen to what other people are doing, where I want to go. And I ended up just having to do that every single day. And I finally have it where it's pretty much just, that's what I listen to in the car now. And my kids
it's a habit. It's a habit now, right? It's like a habit.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So let me ask you, what is your portfolio just overview right now?
So my husband and I have flipped a handful of houses here in Seattle. And then, so right now we have 2 rentals here in the Seattle area. There are 4 doors, 2 rentals. And then right now we are currently investing in Philly. So as of today, we've closed on 2. We have 1 that's being rehabbed, or like 85% done. And then the second one, we are have architectural plans with the city because we're converting it from a 5.1 to a 4, 3.5.
Wow. Okay, wait, hang. Oh. All right. So the 2 that are in Philly, those have been properties you've acquired since the program?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And the 2 before are from before. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yep.
So, all right. What is your and congratulations. As far as the value of the portfolio, what would you say that is at this point? Estimated, right?
For my Philly ones,
yeah.
Let's say, so ARV is 247 on property 1, and then property 2 probably I always say like 300. We'll say conservatively.
Yeah. And I mean, since July, like that's incredible. Like that mindset work is working really well.
But on the same time, it's working well, but it's also scary. I'm not gonna lie, it's scary, right? You look at okay, after X amount of months, I'm gonna be responsible for this amount of mortgage, whether or not you have a renter, right? So that's the next phase of this journey of like getting the renters in there, and you hear about eviction stories and like all these things. You're like, okay, you can't worry about that yet because I'm not there yet. Right. I got to get what's in front of me first over the line. Then we go into this next phase of what's my challenge and how do I get to that resolution?
I wanted to just add something to what Natasha said and ask her a question because she said something so interesting before you get into Burr. And she was saying, like, oh, I'm going to be responsible for this mortgage. And I'm wondering, do you think that getting laid off from your job kind of gave you some perspective on how fleeting our incomes actually are, like our W-2s? I've gotten laid off once, and then it was quite liberating. But at the same time, I kind of felt like there's no such thing as loyalty to a corporation. You're just a number. Do you think that helps you with your mindset on how you look at properties and the numbers?
Absolutely. Yep. It was liberating at month like 7. I'll be honest. It took me a long time to get over that. But I mean, obviously we had to adjust our lifestyle, right? We went from like 2 incomes to now just 1 income. So we're not doing these frivolous, let's go out to eat nights, right? It's very, very systematic, which honestly, like, you have to know your numbers, not just business-wise, but personally. You were just talking about QuickBooks. You do all your financials through QuickBooks for your personally. I'm like, groceries. I spend so much money on groceries. Holy smokes. Right. And so it was just kind of these levers that you have to be really conscious of when you know what's coming down the pipe. So it's really forced me to be in real estate every single day, making sure that these milestones are hit. And if they're not, how and when are we going to get them? Like, pushing my GC, I want to know. I want to know why. I don't want to like cause any issues, but I just want to know why and when will it be done.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Love it.
Okay.
Love it.
You have, and you showed us before we got on the call, this amazing PowerPoint that you have. And it starts with the whole buying process.
Yeah.
So you live in Seattle. What made you decide to buy in Philly? I know a lot of people on our program do buy in Philly, so that's fine.
It initially started out in Ohio. I'm not going to lie. I'm like, yep, Cleveland is the place. Numbers make sense. The numbers made sense. I couldn't find a realtor that I felt that I could trust. I talked to a handful. A lot of them I would say 2 of them didn't know like the whole investing strategy that I wanted to do what the program teaches us. Right. And the other one was just very not personable, I would say, and not someone I would feel like I could trust with these random questions and what about this neighborhood kind of thing. Yeah. And then I couldn't find a GC. The GC that I talked to, like, I just couldn't trust them. And so I honestly moved to Indiana, and that was short-lived just because my price point, my avatar was a 3-1 under 85,000. Like that was my price point. And I couldn't find enough inventory to rinse and repeat in that specific, they're like three zip codes that I looked at in Indiana. Yeah. And then I started researching Philly, and obviously the group is majority. A lot of people are investing in Philly. I'm like, okay, let me just check it out. Yep. So it worked for me.
Okay, great. I would love to hear your process, because I know we have, a lot of people who are starting whatever part of their journey. And, Palak always talks about, especially in real estate, everyone is on his or her own journey. And it's really great to hear other people on their path, even no matter where we are on ours. Andrew's saying, know your numbers, both personally and in real estate. It's very key. So yay. But, what was your process in purchasing your home in Philly once you determined, okay, I'm going to do Philly? Like zip codes, areas, and you've got a very specific process, which I love to look at more.
Yeah. So, like I said, my avatar was 3-1, 85,000. That was my 1,000 square feet, maybe 900, but definitely not. It would be 900 to 1,000 square feet at most. And I had to look high and low. I found there's multiple zip codes that worked. And then what I did was I got pre-approved first, and I decided to use RFG. So there's 3 things that I started with, was the realtor, GC, and then the lender. So I had my lender obviously came from the group. I'm like, okay, if I have 3 variables, 2 of them probably I can control, 1 of them I can't. So I chose to use RFG. RFG referred me to my agent. So those are 2 things that I could feel comfortable trusting.
Can I ask about the agent? So you had said that you had conversations with agents in the other cities, in Ohio and a couple of the other places you were looking at previously. What was it about this one that you connected with? I know it was a referral, but was it a good? Are you happy with your agent? And
yeah,
okay, good.
So he's familiar with he's familiar with the program, but also as an investor himself, right? So if I already knew my research in neighborhoods and numbers, and so when I talked to him, he would be able to say, and this and this and this about this neighborhood, and this and this and this about this neighborhood. It wasn't just, oh yeah, sure, yep, I can write the offer for you. Right. He had that extra context. I'm like, okay, so he actually does know these neighborhoods. He actually is boots on the ground and knows what's happening on this and this corner, right? This is what's coming up, or this is what's changing. Don't buy south of this street. Don't buy north of this street, right? So those are the things I'm like, okay, he actually understands what I'm trying to accomplish.
Yeah. And then it is helpful because not everybody has that context, and you know it. You know when they don't know. Mm-hmm. But you also know when they do. Yeah. And it's very helpful. Okay, please go ahead. I would love to hear more. Hi, Danny.
Palak created this amazing page for all of our members in the program. It's openspaceswomen.com/team. So that page, once you visit it, it has our preferred vendors on there. And what we want you to do is go through those specific links, because some of our vendors, we have specific, discounts for you in there. So just make sure you're using and referencing those pages.
Cool. Thank you, Danny.
And so the other thing is regarding going back to my agent. So although I use him as a resource, I also wanted him to know that I'm doing my homework too. So I would send him a spreadsheet estimated ARV, are these right? And so he would just, like, I send him 8, he would batch them like, yes, 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 no, it's more like this amount, because I wanted him to know that I'm not just using him for his knowledge. I'm also trying to understand the market too. It goes both ways. So
Yeah.
just another thing.
Well, you know, it's interesting that you say that, because it probably also shows that you're not in it for just one and done. Like, you're interested in it for potentially more than that, and more of a relationship, as opposed to, I just need you for this and I'm not, and then I'm moving on. So I think maybe there's something to that. Yeah.
And then all the realtors come in with their own, it sounds like this realtor does kind of know our process and everything, but I've seen a lot of times they come with their own mindset, their own money issues, their own, I don't know, not all realtors, even the investor friendly ones, really understand what we want to do. So you have to maintain the control at all times, because it's, at the end of the day, these are your properties, right? So I love that.
I love that.
You're still doing your homework and you were still on it, whether he realizes it or not. That's an added advantage that, you know, he should know that you know what you're talking about too. But at the end of the day, this is your wealth, right? These are our deals. So I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. So Beth agrees. Sending the agent a spreadsheet with an ARV is a good idea. So what else did you do, Natasha, as you're going through the process? Okay, I'm in a new city. I've got an agent. I've got a lender. Okay, what else do you? Oh, you need a GC.
Now you need to find a GC. So that was what I tasked myself to do. I searched Facebook, Philly investors, Googled, Yelp. I probably talked to at least 15 of them. A lot of them didn't call me back. And then one guy just picked the phone and had a casual conversation with me. He doesn't have a big team. He honestly doesn't. It's like pretty much like 1-2 man kind of show. But I told him what I want to do. I want to grow. You know, I'm obviously going to learn along the way. So if you can help teach me, he's like, I want to do that too. I also, you know, construction background. I'm trying to branch out and do this myself. So we're kind of working in parallel as we grow our business. And I set expectations. I don't know you from Adam. So every Friday, I want an update, whether it's phone call and or video and or pictures, if not once a week, maybe twice a week. And sure enough, I'm in like week 12. I talk to him at least every other, or probably 2 times a week.
Really? And so it was on first meeting, you said that. First meeting, you're just like, hey, this is what I'd like. And if it's not cool with you, you probably would have just moved on. But he was like cool with that, right?
Yeah, I set expectations of like weekly updates, because from the program, we've heard multiple things of GCs just kind of walking away and, you know, mid-project. And then we did talk about payment schedule. I'm like, I'm using a hard money lender. I don't know if you've ever used one before, but this is how it kind of works. He's like, yep, that's fine. It was a little bit challenging when you do the scope of work for a hard money lender, but it comes with the territory.
So you mentioned the ARVs for your properties. Let's do it with if you're able and willing to talk about the purchase price and the condition and the rehab. Yeah.
Okay. So maybe can you share, Palak, the PowerPoint?
Actually, you know what? Can I ask you one more question before I share it? I actually have it pulled up. 1 second. So I thought it was so interesting how you were like, I'm new, I'm learning, but I still want you to do blah, blah, blah. Where did you find the confidence to say that? Because I hear a lot of new investors, you either go in one direction or the other, right? A lot of new investors will be like, I'm brand new. I'm here to learn. I don't know what I'm talking about. Can you help me? Or they're like, listen, man, this is how it's going to be. But you kind of balanced it. And
I practiced it sometimes before I made the phone call.
Nice. I love it.
I love it.
Phone calls, you guys. It works.
I love it.
As easy as it sounds, I practiced it because I'm like, I just need to make sure that I had like 3 bullets. I want to do my expectations, what I expected to, where I wanted the conversation to end. I wanted to make sure I got these 3 bullets out, right? So I'm like, okay, well, but you have to be confident, right? So you have to play that role like, yes, these are the things that I want at the end of this 30-minute call. And then make that decision on whether or not he or she is going to work with your business.
Love that. You guys, I'm so glad you said that, Natasha. In the SOPs, we have scripts. that you can use, steal, make them your own. It gives you a starting point.
Yes.
When you're not comfortable calling someone, script it out, practice it with your spouse, your kids, the mirror, accountability group, whoever. When you practice it, it starts flowing off your tongue. It builds confidence. I love that, Natasha.
I love that.
Yes, I did take the SOP and I highlighted the things that I wanted to make sure I covered in the calls. And so after phone call 3, I'm like, you just kind of know how to drive
better
the conversation.
Yeah. Yes, script.
And I think, so just out of curiosity, when you were asking those questions, hey, whoever your contractor is, I'm going to need you to, or would it be okay if you checked in with me once a week or twice a week? And you set that expectation. I think the hardest part is for us is we're maybe not feeling as confident. Like we'll continue to talk, right? We'll like continue to ask him, like, is that okay? Is that okay? And did you just like be quiet? Like, were you like, you asked the question and then you just shut your mouth and then waited for the answer? Yeah.
It's awkward silence, right?
So awkward. Yeah. Congratulations. Yeah.
Kind of thing. But no, I mean, when you talk to people, you kind of get that vibe, right? You like, I don't know about this person, or this person is actually, pretty normal, right? So, I mean, after the 3rd phone call, I'm like, yes.
It was normal, really, but yeah.
Yeah, right. That's great. That is really great.
I love it. You have chemistry with. That's what somebody you find very easy to talk to.
Yep.
Love that.
All right. Screen share, because we're going to talk about purchase price and properties.
So I will start first with how I started, because when I joined the program, like, how do I analyze a neighborhood? So how I started was, I took Redfin was my tool of choice, Redfin or Zillow, but I used Redfin. So what I did was I basically took one zip code and I pulled up all the solds and all the actives, and then I could see which pockets had the lower priced actives in relation to what things are selling for, right? This was just the high level, so I could kind of get my bearings on specific zip codes or neighborhoods. And then I started like clicking into some of these actives. I'm like, okay, these are now, then I filtered it. I'm like, okay, now filter it to 3-1 or whatever my avatar is, right? 3-1 and leave it at that. And then I started to see like everything like dwindle down. And then that's where I started focusing on, okay, analyzing these 5 properties, analyzing these 3 properties in this neighborhood, and just kind of like getting my bearings within a zip code. And it got me comfortable with, okay, yep, this isn't going to work. Nope, this is definitely going to work. Let's look more into this. And then my variables, like I said, were my lender and my realtor. And then what I didn't have was my GC. So I made it my thing to do for 1 week is to find a GC. And it granted, he probably talked to me at least 3 times, a total of probably 3-4 hours, right? I'm like, I want to make sure this, and how about this? And I wanted to make sure that I could call him. So I texted him. I used WhatsApp. I made sure he knew, knew how to do things via email. So I wanted to double check his communication, if he could keep up, or if he has like one preference versus another. And all the boxes checked out. It's been great so far.
Oh, that's amazing.
And so this is the method, the one that used the Sarah and Rami method, where you start here and then you kind of narrow down, which is, if you guys want to go deeper into it, check out Sarah and Rami's Sensei session. They went deep into that's how they actually narrowed down even the state. Like they looked at the full map of America, and then they were like, where do we see a bunch of red dots for properties that are on sale that are under X amount? And then they narrowed down there, and then they narrowed down even more. And then Natasha, what you added on to this method was you were like, now I'm going to go into the neighborhood and now I'm going to eliminate the ones that don't work, right? Did I get it right?
Yep, that's right.
Is that how you did it?
Perfect.
I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah. So which one was your first property that you, and how, so hang on, before I forget, did you ever visit Philly? Have you visited Philly? So you still have not set foot in Pennsylvania, is what you're saying.
I did. So we closed on 2 and then we flew out.
Oh, okay. All right. So you did your closings and then flew out, but this whole process, you did this from Seattle. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah,
I'll
that's
walk
great.
you through.
Okay.
So yep, that's right, Palak. So property one, it was a property listed on the MLS from a wholesaler. So in Philadelphia, wholesalers list properties on the MLS just as, to get more eyes or that reciprocity between Redfin and Zillow. It was listed for $80,000. It had been on the market for about 2 weeks at this point. And then I told my agent, "Yep, this one looks good. I think I want to write an offer on it." Right? And he's like, "Okay, let me just test out the listing agent and see." So he did a verbal offer of 70. He's like, "Nope, they're standing firm at 75. Can you make it work 75?" So my estimated analysis was 230. So knowing that RFG as a first time investor only goes up to like 65%, I knew I had to be all in at 149,500 because it's 65% of 230, right? So my estimated ARV was 230 based on Zillow and Redfin, and then my offer price was 75. So if you take 149 minus 75,000, that leaves me with 74,500 for rehab. Right. And I was like, okay, I think that could work. And then my GC gave me an estimate for 53,200. And at this point, I was doing all the cosmetics. I was going to keep the radiator, and I was just going to put like a sealant on the roof because that's where my budget needed to be at the 53.2. And then at this point, I asked my hard money lender, "What's it going to cost me to close on this house?" High level, like super big estimate. So I got that. So I had it in the back of my head. I'm like, okay, it's going to be around like 10 to 15,000, 15,000 at the most. So now, so you can click again, Palak, for the next phase. So phase 2, the hard money lender now has my scope of work, and then sent out their inspector and sent out their appraiser to check out the property to make sure that I'm not inflating my scope of work, or maybe my ARV, is being inflated. But the hard money appraiser actually appraised the property for 247. I was like,
wow.
So it's, it's like 17,000 more than I anticipated. That's great.
Yeah.
Did you make the appraisal packet for the appraiser? Did you make the appraisal packet for the appraiser? You didn't make the appraisal packet.
No.
Wow.
Can I just say this in different words? So 247 was the ARV. All in, say you hadn't even upped the budget because you didn't even need to, right? Because the way it was, he already appraised it at 247. And you were all in at what? 53.2 plus 75? What's the total?
149.5.
You're all in at 149.5. And what's the difference between 247 and 149.5? What's the difference? 247 minus 149. You just made $97,500. That's what this property is making you.
Wow.
How many months do you have had to work full time to make? How many hours would
puts it into perspective, doesn't it? It really does.
7,500, and this is just your first deal. This is your first deal. This is your oh my god, that is amazing.
That is amazing.
You only need for $247,000. You need 25% in equity. You only need $61,750 equity to be able to refinance it, right? Yeah. So minus, what was it, 97.5? Or 97.5 minus the equity that you actually need. You are getting paid $35,750. $35,750. You're getting paid that money to do this deal, which is going to have $0 stuck in it when you're done.
Yeah.
This is probably goes in the Hall of Fame for a first deal ever.
Yeah.
Investor has to go in Hall of Fame. You guys, if you're brand new, don't be afraid. Don't feel like you're doing something wrong if you're leaving a little bit of money on the table. Like that happens a lot of times. That's okay. Not every deal works out like this. I just want to make sure everybody watching and listening to this knows that, because I don't, if you don't end up with a deal that ends up in Hall of Fame, don't feel like you're doing something wrong. This is amazing, Natasha. I am so proud of you.
All because of what we've learned, right? I'm just like step by step. I'm just step one, step two. I mean, literally, you guys painted the path, and you just gotta follow the path to the T. Don't try and make your own path. Don't try to reinvent the wheel. Just follow the process. It works. It literally works.
Natasha, I have a question from Samuel. How many hours per day were you spending looking at the red dots on the maps? And maybe if I can extrapolate further, like how many hours were you spending to kind of figure out if the deals were the right deals for you to bid on?
I would say like maybe 2 to 3 hours a day, right? So if I'm waiting for my kids, picking them up, I'm analyzing like on Redfin on my phone. I'm always looking at property. Like if we're going somewhere, my husband is driving. I mean, housing research is like my life, right?
That's a t-shirt, by the way. But yeah, that's a t-shirt.
Nature, right? Like
it is.
Anywhere we go, we're pulling up Redfin. And we were visiting Niti's family in San Francisco, and we were somewhere in a neighborhood, and both of us had our Redfins out in our phones. And somebody passed by and they looked over and they were like, "You guys are looking at real estate?" And we said, "Yeah, what else would we be doing?" Like, it's a new neighborhood, of course. So I love that, Natasha. You're doing it. That's awesome.
So instead of buying a new dress, you might buy a new house is kind of what it sounds like. Okay, so explain to me what you did here is, and Palak, thank you so much for what the context you put. But then
I wanted to add one more thing.
Yeah.
Before we move on to the next thing this is the mindset shift that I love seeing when folks are in our community and they start doing this, is instead of browsing online for Black Friday sales, and that's okay too if you did that. Give yourself some grace, that's okay. But like instead of looking at what's the next thing I'm gonna buy and being that consumer, you're a producer now, and you're looking, when you have free time, you're not looking at how I'm gonna spend my money. You're gonna look at how I'm gonna multiply my money. Yeah. And so that's
also this one thing too is, and I was thinking about this the other day, is you're also providing opportunity. I mean, you're providing opportunity for your GC and for the realtors that you're working with. I mean, it's sort of giving back, but I mean, it is providing opportunities for all of us to grow. So,
if you don't mind, I'm gonna read a couple of comments is that okay? Beth said, sending the agent a spreadsheet with ARV is a good idea. Gunjan said, yes, I've done that too. Nick said, the SOP for vetting helped me big time. I got so much more out of the vetting call than I would have otherwise. Yes, use that SOP, you guys. Like it has come from many, 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 many trials and errors and iterations from myself and from the amazing giving members of this community. So please use that. Would Natasha be able to demonstrate how she filtered the information in Redfin? We have so much to cover today with her. So maybe another Sensei session.
Yeah.
We could do that.
Definitely.
Wow. As a newbie, I still wouldn't feel comfortable buying without seeing first. Did you depend on GC to show you accurate pictures of what needed to be fixed in the home?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So my agent walked the property for me. And I also, at the same time, you're building a relationship with your agent. You're asking him or her to do work for you, and you haven't closed on anything with him or her.
Right. They're not getting paid right now.
Nope. And my GC is trying to build his business, but I'm asking him to go do work as well. Yeah. Right. So with the GC part of it, because he wasn't a big 5-7 man crew, he wanted to build his business. So he wanted to gain my trust. So it was kind of this happy dance. My first 2 weeks, looking at property, he walked probably 4 properties for me before we wrote an offer on this one. And he was quick, right? He I mean, it wasn't anything fancy. It was just literally, I think this and this and this. This is approximately how much it's going to be. It probably took 15 minutes. I didn't pay him. But at this point, I had already talked to him 4 times, about 4 hours total. So we had this relationship that I'm like, okay, it feels pretty good. Right. So the GC part of it, I really wanted to make sure that he felt comfortable with me. I always gave him an out. If I'm asking for you to do too much, you let me know.
Oh, I like that.
I like that.
Because
Good. That's a golden tip.
Yeah.
I respect his time, right? He has to make a living too, obviously. So I just wanted to make sure I always gave that out for him.
So what did you say, Natasha, specifically? What statement did you use that, hey, if I'm asking you to do too much, let me know? Is that what, because our people love scripts, right? Like sometimes people don't know what to say.
Yeah. So, I mean, I basically said, I'm probably going to have you look at a few properties for me before I can make an informed decision on writing an offer. And I hope you can appreciate that. But at the same time, if I'm asking too much of you, let me know. And I left it at that. I didn't offer any payment, and he was like, no, it's fine, Natasha. No problem. And
you only had him look at 4 properties, not 40, right?
No.
So you made a decision quick before you burnt out your new relationship. And that's a smart thing to do.
Yeah. And the first 3 properties that I had him look at, my agent was like, absolutely not these zip codes. I'm like, oh, okay, never mind.
Yeah. I can see the whole team dynamic working though, because you're not from the area. Having those 2 help you out saved all of you time in the long run. So I think that's really key. Okay, so explain to me here, once you realized that the ARV on this first property was coming in higher, you decided to invest more in the rehab. Is that what it sounds? That's what it looks like. Okay.
So, I mean, we learned from our program that if you can keep and it's usable, don't replace it, right? It's like the radiators in this house actually were fine, right? But my agent was like, Natasha, you're gonna pull out these walls because the walls had lath and plaster. They were like wood paneling. You're gonna pull all of those off, and then you don't know what that lath and plaster looks like. You're gonna be pulling off these walls anyways, and you have room in the budget. Do that. Put new ducting in there because, I mean, you have room for the budget.
Yes, 100%.
Do it.
Yeah. You have the money, right? I mean,
love it.
Cool.
Awesome. Samuel has a question. Hi, Natasha. How many hours per day were you spending looking at those red dots?
Yeah, I would say like 3 hours. It took me about 2 weeks. I would say probably like 15, maybe 30 hours total to feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Comfortable, making offers, literally sight unseen without setting foot in a property. It took me a while to get there. I'm like, how do people do this? This is so weird.
Yeah. Right.
But it finally, I'm like, you know what? Just rip the Band-Aid off. The numbers work. Just do it. Right. So
as someone I've done a lot of new things. I'm doing new things all the time in this business, in any business. We are constantly doing new things. I feel like when you're in it and it's brand new, it'll feel like, when am I ever going to understand how this works? How are these people doing this? And then one day it'll just click. You just have to spend enough time in it. And that's true with any growth opportunity. At that moment, you're like, this is a mess. It doesn't feel very straightforward. And then suddenly that one piece connects and you're like, now everything fell into place. I got it now.
Yeah.
But I think hearing stories of people who have done this are so beneficial, because I really feel like it's kind of like the map that Palak has given us is a map, but then having someone go through it and take the map on their own, like you have, Natasha, it's just so helpful because to hear how you're doing this. So, Poonen has a question.
Do you ask a question? I'm sorry, Cheryl.
I'm sorry.
Did I re-ask a question that was?
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. Poonen asked, did you ever feel the need to hire a home inspector?
Good question. As the program teaches us, yes, get a home inspection, but I didn't. And the reason being is I was going to gut this house. My agent was like, what is the inspector going to tell you? That you need to replace the bathroom tile, the skylight in the bathroom. He's like, these are all obvious things to be different if you're just going to like just kind of do the cosmetic paint and that sort of thing. But you're going to be ripping out the walls. We're probably going to know more than the inspector will know.
Right.
By the time you're done.
Oh, okay.
I do recommend new investors get home inspection. We still get home inspections. If you are doing a complete gut and you trust your team, then go with what you feel comfortable with. Your budget has so much room that even if something goes wrong, you've got enough room to tackle it. So yeah.
Awesome. So tell me again, where are we in the process of this rehab? Is this one done?
No, we're at 85%. So I'll get there. So let's go to, so on this one, so after the ARV came in at 247, I adding a brand new HVAC, taking out the radiators, and I added putting on a brand new roof. So now my new budget was 65.5.
And your ARV is actually going to go up now.
Yeah.
You're upgrading.
Yeah.
You're going from radiators to central air, right?
Yes.
Is that what you're doing? Yeah. So now your ARV is going to go up. This money is not going to leave you alone. You're getting it no matter what.
Congratulations. Okay, cool.
So now this is my buffer, right? So I'm 165.50 was 65% of my hard money appraiser amount. And I subtracted my offer price, which was 75. And then now I subtracted my adjusted rehab budget. So I still have a buffer of 20,000, right? For unforeseen whatever. And so after we closed, or actually let's talk about the closing a little bit. So this was a wholesale deal. And at the wholesale deal, at the closing table, I asked for an estimated HUD. So I wanted to see what the title company is saying I need to bring to the table. So now the title company is saying I need to bring $10,000 more than what my estimated cost sheet was in phase one. I'm like, wait a minute, 10,000, that's a lot, right? I know there's taxes, I know there's prepaids, but $10,000? I'm like, okay. So I started looking at the line items, and I know that commissions are always a seller's cost. So the buyer's commission, my agent's commission was on my side. So I was actually paying for these at closing. I'm like, wait a minute, that's not right. So that was like about $3,000. And then because it was a wholesale deal, there's an assignment fee. And the assignment fee was $9,800. And that was
it a part of your purchase price?
It wasn't. So the assignment fee was on my side. So now we're close to like about $13,000. So that's where that delta came from. So I called my agent. I'm like, hey, I'm looking at my HUD statement, and not that I don't want you to get paid, but I'm paying your buyer's commission and I'm paying the assignment fee. I looked at my contract. I didn't sign off on paying the assignment fee to the wholesaler. He's like, hold on, let me take a look. So he looked at the HUD statement. He's like, yep, absolutely not. So he called the title company, and they had to work out how it was all going to pan out. And we're 24 hours before signing. And so my agent was like, Natasha, you're not signing this. He's like, if they're not willing to pay for the assignment fee, not doing it. It's like, okay, but I really want this deal because
I know.
It works, yeah.
And so basically, the seller came down in price to accommodate the buyer's commission and the assignment fee. So at the end, my actual offer price or purchase price was $62,500.
Oh,
wow.
For anyone who's brand new listening to this, when you buy a wholesale deal, you have retained a realtor to represent you. Usually, you lucked out, Natasha. Usually, you will cover their commission. So his commission being on your side, that is acceptable. That's usually how it works, unless you negotiated that upfront, that, hey, the seller is going to cover that. But the assignment fee is usually a part of the purchase price. So the assignment fee goes in that should never be a separate line item that you weren't even aware of. That should have been included in the 75K. So good for you for reading things carefully and speaking up and renegotiating and everything. And you even negotiated his commission in it. So that's amazing.
Congrats. Yeah, I know. I want you to negotiate a deal for me, by the way. So yes.
If you don't, I mean, my lesson learned was, if you don't know, ask.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ask, right? And so looking back, the title company, because in Philadelphia, you can choose the title company as a buyer. My agent's like, do you want to use a title company of your choice, or do you want to use the seller's title company? I was like, oh, let's just use a seller's title company. But honestly, I mean, it worked in my favor because the title company that he or she chose, they didn't mind their P's and Q's, right? They weren't diligent in making sure that their seller was like covered, I guess. And at the end, it worked out in my favor.
Okay.
The title companies are regulated. So even if you use the seller's title company, they are not supposed to do anything in their favor or your favor. They're just supposed to do what's right. It's not like an agent, right? Like they're supposed to represent you.
Oh, I
Title
see.
companies are regulated by law, so there's nothing wrong with using the seller's title company. They just didn't have their act together, it sounds like.
Yeah.
That's a different
That's a better
problem.
way to put it.
Yeah.
Okay. So what's next?
So like now we're at like our cabinets are done, flooring's done. We're doing like the quick, or not the quick, but the appliances are going in next week. So we're like we're at the final push here, looking at property management companies as we speak to put to get it ready for rent. Ideally, my goal is January, second week of January-ish, middle of January-ish.
Amazing. And then the rehab, the estimated was around 54,000. Did it hold? Is it everything is good price wise? Okay.
Yeah. So the only unforeseen thing that came about was when we were taking out the wood paneling in the basement, he pulled out the wood paneling and saw that the sewer pipe was cracked. And it actually needed to be dug out like 6 inches deep. And then you got to replace the whole thing because it was all corroded. But at this point, my numbers could obviously, absorb that cost. But what I found was I already had and this is maybe getting too much in the weeds, but in my SAL, my roof line item with my GC was $500. And then I had an estimate of 6 windows that I was going to replace, but I only replaced 4.
Okay.
So I had a little bit of wiggle room that could cover my GC cost. So 2 windows was about $500. Obviously, I wasn't going to use my GC to do the roof. So I had about $1,000 because I paid the roof, because I got a brand new roof. So I had about $1,000 of my GC. And it basically covered my costs. So to your point, yes, I'm at 53 too. Mm-hmm.
Okay. We're kind of like, there's so much we still want to cover. For those who are joining us, please put your takeaways in the chat. Let us know what you're getting from Natasha's story and how just what she's kind of going through can help you on wherever you are in your real estate journey. Mo has a question. How much did you have to bring to the close of your own money?
Mm-hmm. So I used RFG. I put a $3,000 earnest. So that was out of pocket. When I closed, I had to bring 13.6 about to close. Prior to closing, my out-of-pocket costs were I got a sewer scope. That was about $220. I had to pay for the hard money inspector, which was, I think it was $300, I think. And then the appraiser, which was $400. So about $1,000. So $3,000 plus my earnest, $1,000 for the hard money, $4,000 plus 13, about 18,000 total, I think, to close on this first property. But keep in mind with RFG, you pay 3 months worth of interest. So you pay that up front. So my first payment to RFG won't be until February. And I closed on this property in September.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
amazing. Wow.
So when you do your numbers, you have to remove that, right? That's not your closing cost. For anybody listening to this, when they include your interest prepayment, that's not a part of your closing cost. That's a part of your holding cost, because that's the money you need to hold the property, right? That's your holding, carrying, soft cost, whatever you want to call it. That's not a part of your closing cost. So your closing costs are even lower than that. You even brought less money to the table than what we talked about.
Gosh. Okay.
Better and better.
Yeah, I'm serious. I think you must have like a money touch or something. Okay. So you have 2 properties, you said. I want to kind of get to the second property. Were you looking for property 2 while you were you must have been. So tell us about that a little bit.
So I've talked to a handful of people in the group, and they just I'm like, how do you guys get into the next property? But your antennas are up already in your zip code. You know what's new on the market. You know what's coming back on the market. You know what just sold. Like, I knew what was a good deal. So this one came up in my zip code. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to write an offer on this. It's just this. I mean, the ARV checks out, the number. I mean, everything checked out. And my husband was like, are you being a little crazy? Shouldn't we just wait till this one call up? I'm like, no. This is the reason why. So I mean, to be honest, I had to explain it to my husband, right? Like, if you can't explain it to your grandma or your husband that's not in this every single day, then you don't know your business, right? And that's my benchmark, right? If my husband can't understand from like a 5-minute conversation and why this is a good deal, then okay. But anyways, so I found this property and it was just on the market a day. And in this market, like, I was like, maybe I should have negotiated, but no, the numbers still work. So this one was a 5-1. And my exit strategy for this one was a flip, because I want more liquidity so I can keep going in 24. So I analyzed it as a flip. So, okay, do I keep it as a 5-1? Does the family want to have 5 bedrooms, only 1 bathroom? Probably not, So I went into it. Okay, how can I squeeze another bathroom in there? So we converted, or going to convert it from a 5-1 to a 4-2, 3.5. Mm-hmm.
4-3.5. Wow. Okay, that's amazing. Okay,
something to remember. I guess something to point out here. I love that you're flipping. Every single thing that you learn through this process, you can apply that to do a flip. If you want a boost of cash in your pocket for your next deal, it's exactly the same, except your client is not a tenant, it's a homeowner. That's the difference. So you rehab it a little bit differently, right? You can't do the same stuff you do for a tenant. You want somebody who will be excited by the nice and shiny new renovation.
Right.
That's the difference. And it's everything else is the same. So I love that you're doing that. That is fantastic. And
Natasha,
Cheryl, one more thing.
Mm-hmm.
As a part of the Make series that we're doing starting January, we're going to bring MB Capital, who a lot of people in this program have actually used. I'm only finding out about them later after the whole community raved about them. So we're bringing them in to talk to us about business credit that can inject a boost of cash. If you want to start doing multiple deals at the same time, they're going to come and talk to us about it. If you're going to be at the BurCon, they're one of the sponsors. They're going to be there too. But yeah, wanted to mention that. So many amazing things that came out of this Sensei session, Natasha. This is
so good. Let me ask you, Natasha, because I know we're kind of running out of time, even though I know we could talk to you more. So I think what means we need to get you back on here again is what parts of the program. So we've got at least a few new folks to investing in our group today. What parts of the program would you say, other than all of it, because I know all of it is super helpful, but are there specific things that you can have people go back to help them get where you are currently?
I would say, like, for the two, if I had to say like 2 things to be like a master in, or have a really, really like good self-confidence in getting like real estate investing under your belt, your neighborhood. Like, spend the hours to know your neighborhood. I know it's exciting to like write offers and get that offer under contract. But you also want to know when there's a good deal. So if you, I mean, it's going to happen when you write your offer, there's going to be that next house. You're like, you know, or there's going to be another zip code. You're like, oh, this one looks like another good deal, but no, keep your blinders on, know your zip code, know it in and out, backwards, forwards, like Google your neighborhood, understand what the latest news is, who's building what commercial developers are coming into play. Just know your zip code. I mean, it's amazing on how much I didn't know what that meant until I knew what it meant now. And then the financing piece, right? Like I am so grateful for my accountability group, to all the ladies in my accountability group, because I asked the same questions. They asked me the same questions. And when I talk to them, they're learning from me. I'm teaching them. They're teaching me. We've walked through spreadsheets together. I don't understand this. Like I've had a working session with a couple of the ladies multiple times. And I can't stress enough to like know your numbers inside and out, backwards and forwards. Once you can teach your numbers on your own deal, then you know it's a good deal, right? Like you're not like, oh, I think it is. I think it is because the numbers are okay. But run it by a pro and ask them like, okay, run this through me. But do you see any holes? Ask me the hard questions, because if you can't answer it, then you know that you have a hole in like your analysis.
You mentioned earlier that you spent about 3 hours a day, 2 to 3 hours a day, doing the prep work, like looking at the dots and, you know, doing the deal analysis. Is that what you were doing? So is that what you're doing? Like trying to really understand the numbers and making the phone calls? And you're in Seattle, so you're 3 hours behind the people in Philly. So
yeah,
you had to get up earlier. Is it work life wise? That's how you did that?
Yeah. So my day starts at pretty much 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, because I got to get my kids out the door. So my window is like literally 12 to 3 is my real estate time. So once I decided on a zip code, I know that you can do one or two, but I just like, nope, just do one and go really deep in that one. Call property managers, leverage their knowledge about what they know about that zip code, talk to people that are developing. Like you're going to look at permit, like who pulls permits, construction companies, call these construction companies. Why are they, investing there? Why are they remodeling there? Like, do they know anything about that neighborhood? I talked to probably 2 larger GCs or construction companies in the area. And they're like, I looked at their properties in Philly. I'm like, they own quite a bit. This is like kind of an indicator this could be a good area, right? Because they wouldn't be investing in specific zip codes for nothing.
Right. Natasha, this has been so valuable. Thank you so much.